All right. Thanks, everyone, for coming to our session today on an Architects an overview of Data Cloud best practices. If you were in our keynote today, you must have heard how important Data Cloud is going to be to kind of drive your Salesforce 360 and the Einstein 1 platform. So first, one of our favorite slides, a forward-looking statement. Just make all your investments, implementation, usage decisions based on capabilities we have GA today. And a big thank you. Thank you to all for being here, for your investment in Data Cloud, as well as your interest. It's one of our fastest growing products, and it's thanks to our broader ecosystem, people like yourself. So nice to meet you. I'll go first. I'm Arvind Raman. I'm part of our Salesforce Partner Product Success team. What that basically means is we help enable our broader ecosystem on all things Salesforce, and I've been focusing on Data Cloud for the last 3 years. And I'm joined by...
Hi, everyone. I'm Gina Nichols. I'm with the Data Cloud Product Management team.
Awesome. So the key message is Data Cloud really fuels the Einstein 1 platform. Data Cloud is part of the entire Salesforce 360, and it really sort of fuels the Einstein 1 platform. And why is that important? So one of the things that, as you know, this last year has been about your AI transformation. Almost every customer enterprise is either thinking about it or talking about it. And really sort of having a solid data foundation is going to be important. And on top of that, you can bring your own LLM models or use the ones. But the key part is what Data Cloud does. It provides the grounding, which is how we can tell AI not to hallucinate. So, and once you are able to ground it on top of it, you can start to build your model builder, either pro code or low code, or prompt builder and Copilot builder, things that you may have seen today in the keynote. And really on top is where on your normal flow of work through using your apps, where now you can start to use the rich data. I'll have Gina talk about some of our...
What we're going to cover next is our Data Cloud architecture and some considerations that you need to keep in mind while you're trying to implement Data Cloud. Is it back? All right. You probably have seen this slide before. It talks about how Data Cloud works. You look at your source systems. If we go from left to right, you have your source systems. They connect at hyperscale. They come into harmonized. You have the source of truth, and then you're able to activate them. What we're actually seeing here is a high-level cloud. In the center, you have your Data Cloud org.
Sorry about that.
Sorry about that. In the center, you have your Data Cloud org, and in it, you can see that you have data streams coming in. That means all of your data that's being ingested is coming in as data streams. You have data actions. You can see how we are bringing data from multiple sources and how this data is going to be activated. As we move through this, we'll cover each one of these areas in detail. But for the first part, one of the things that you need to consider is where are you going to provision your Data Cloud org? Are you going to provision it in your existing core data org, or are you going to provision it in your new data org? Some considerations. If you are a very simple implementation, it's not very complex, you have a single line of business, and all of your data is housed in a single org, then you would want to go with an existing core data org. And again, another use case for this is if you want to use out-of-the-box Lightning components and out-of-the-box functionality, then you would want to use an existing core org. A new core data org makes sense when you have multiple existing Salesforce customer orgs, the architecture is complex, and then you also have Data Cloud administration users are different from your regular SF users. So one thing to keep in mind, though, with the new data org is that none of the existing out-of-the-box components and functionality, like your Lightning web components, wouldn't be available, so it would have to be custom. A major call-out here, though, is that 90% of customers choose to use a new org. Next, we're going to look at ingestion. You've decided where you're going to have your Data Cloud instance. Now we're going to talk about how we're going to bring data in. You have several ways to bring data in. We have out-of-the-box connectors, so this allows you to connect to both your native Salesforce products, and also, you can bring in data from AWS, from Azure as flat files. Additionally, we also have our Ingestion API. So this Ingestion API allows you to bring in real-time data from other systems. But as of now, we also have a very exciting way to bring data in, and that is using BYOL. So you can bring data in with data federation from Google BigQuery or from Google BigQuery or Snowflake. Now, while you're thinking about the data you want to bring into Data Cloud, you really have to have some considerations as to what type of data you want to ingest. So this is some architect best practices. Ideally, you want to lay out all of your data sources. You want to check the quality of your data. So if you want to use a field for identity resolution or for segmentation, you want to analyze if that column of data is actually going to provide you with all the values you need, and if it's complete. You also should build out a data dictionary for each source that's being added to Data Cloud. So this data dictionary could say, okay, this is my source, this is my relationship, this is which system is my single source of truth, and then also establish data governance around it. One important thing to keep in mind here is that as you're bringing data in, you need to figure out which category your data belongs to, whether it's profile, engagement, or other. So your profile data would be ones that you can actually segment on. Your engagement data is going to be indexed as the data comes in, so you want to make sure that you are specifying the right category, and any data that's outside of those two should be classified as other.
All right, thanks, Gina. So once you bring all your data in, you can start to harmonize them. And you might hear this term a lot, harmonize. What does it really mean? So as you know, data comes in different shapes, formats, as well as different naming syntaxes. Even within the Salesforce cloud, I'm called as a contact in my CRM instance, a subscriber in Marketing Cloud, a profile in commerce. In my e-commerce systems, I'm a customer. And harmonization is basically the process by which we bring all the data and we map it to a standard, what we call as the Salesforce Customer 360 data model. So you've seen this infographic, but really, as I look at it, what does harmonization mean from an architecture perspective, right? So even though it's a complex, harmonization is a process by which you are bringing your data in and then you're mapping it from your data lake objects and your DMO, your data model objects. Now, within the Data Cloud world, you will hear a lot of terms being thrown around, DSO, DLO, DMO. What does it mean, right? So when we say a DSO, it's basically your raw data that you're bringing from your source systems. And then the first time it hits Salesforce or it hits Data Cloud is when it's being brought into what we call as a DLO, which is a data lake object. So these are schema infos, they are Parquet formatted tables on the back end, and then when you start to map them, they are basically what we call as a DMO, a data model object. So they are an non-materialized view that is pulling based on the mapping that you specify. The key thing to remember here is data first must be mapped from a DLO to a DMO in order for you to use it downstream for activation, for segmentation, for analytics. And then this is just sort of the UI. It's all clicks, no code. So as an architect or even as an admin, so there is no, you can do it within the UI itself, in terms of mapping. And once you map all of your data, you get a very rich graphical view that shows your entire data model to you. In fact, between type profile or for engagement, so that you have an idea on what your data model looks like. Again, as you're implementing, as you're using, before you even map your data, like we say, establish, assess, and plan. What does it mean? So the Data Cloud data model is highly normalized, right? So you need to make sure that as you're bringing your data in, that you're deciding, do I transform it beforehand, or do I do it within Data Cloud? And then establish on how do you map that source data, like which data model subject areas you plan to use. Assess as well the type of data per your source system. And we say plan it out, right? You can often do this mapping outside Data Cloud. It can be in a different tool. It can even be in a spreadsheet. My recommendation here is take your time with this part, right? Like, do not rush into pushing the buttons within Data Cloud. So once you have brought data in, it's been harmonized, now you can start to unify them, right? And by unifying is basically where, based on the match rules that you specify, you can either create your unified individuals or your unified accounts to kind of get that 360-degree view. So within the Data Cloud architecture layer, identity resolution basically lies right here. So you have your data, and based on your rule sets that you specify, we create those unified records for you that then can be used or acted upon. So here's what. So in this example, I am unifying my individuals. I have a set of rules based on some fuzzy match logic, as well as some exact logic based on name, fuzzy name, email. And in this systems, we have unified over 65 million source profiles into about 30.3 million. So that's the power. So you had all these either not really duplicates, but like individuals that based on the match rules that you specify have been unified together. And then what that gives you is you really start to get that unified view of that individual or account. The key thing, like I would say, from an architecture lens, right, is Data Cloud, think of it as a system of reference opposed to a system of record. And what we mean by that is by using that unified record, you can always get to all of your source records. I would just say a few things because this comes up often. Data Cloud is not meant to be used as a MDM. It has MDM type capabilities, but it's really a system of reference. So within the unification process, we create a unified ID. And one of the things, one thing you remember from here is do not use that as your golden record ID because it is mutable. It can change based on your match rules changing. So here are some of the best practices, right? Like figure out your unification strategy, be very intentional with match rules, right? Like we typically say, just trying to match people on just contact point, email, or phone, like it's not a best practice. And then, like we get asked this, is there an ideal match rate, right? So the answer is it depends. So there is not. It's based on your data, based on your industry, and we give you where you can create a couple of different rule set to see how those match rules might come into play.
So now we've seen how the different parts of Data Cloud, you've brought in the data, you've ingested it, you've harmonized it, you've unified it, and now what can you do with that data? And that's what we're going to look at next. So with this data, with this very rich data, you can do multiple things. You can activate your data within Data Cloud, so I can create calculated insights. I can activate it to Tableau, meaning I can use dashboards and Data Cloud reports and dashboards, analytic platforms like Tableau, CRM Analytics to look at the data. I can share this enriched data using BYOL with other data lakes like Snowflake or Google BigQuery. Now this data is there to be able to work on with your AI ML tools like Google Vertex. I can use that to deliver predictions. I can build my own model. And now that this rich data, this unified single source of truth is available within Data Cloud, I can segment on the data, meaning I can create my audiences, very rich audiences, that I can then activate to, say, Marketing Cloud, or to Marketing Cloud personalization, or I could send it to my ad partners. This also allows me, once this data is available, I can use this to enrich my CRM data. So within CRM, I can use just standard Lightning Web components, and I can use what's known as, use related lists to get the data from Data Cloud, display it seamlessly within Sales or Service Cloud in my consoles, or I can also copy the fields over. Now this is a diagram. Again, we've highlighted the areas of how this data is available and can be activated. One of the things that I didn't cover is data actions. So what is data action going to do? Data action allows me to listen to changes in the data, and then I can create actions based on those. So an action could be, if the data changes, trigger a flow. If the data changes, now send an email in Marketing Cloud. If the data changes, I want the data to do something to me in another org, some other notification. I can create platform events. I can trigger Slack notification, all of those using data actions. This is an example of how you can see this very rich persona within your sales console. So on the left, you can see the calculated insights that have been created. You can see the lead and contact accounts across the Salesforce orgs. You can see the engagement data from Data Cloud. And then also, because with BYOL, now I can see the product usage from BigQuery as well. Now, this is something I'm going to hope that everybody memorizes. No, I'm just kidding. So this actually is going to show you all the ingress and egress patterns. So you have your native connectors, your ingestion API, your BYOL, and then we bring the data in, and then how can we now get that data out? We have MuleSoft that's going to allow you to bring the data in. We can use MuleSoft to get data out. But one thing that I want to leave with here is, as you're looking at this slide, always consider what you want to use when. Do I need my data to be real time? What are my options for real time? Is it okay if my data comes in near real time? Does it have to be batch? Can I use data federation? So those are all the options that you need to consider as you're trying to bring data in and as you're trying to architect your solution. Again, understand the different connectors and the timing considerations for each of these. Everybody's excited about the roadmap, so I just wanted to cover a few themes that are in our Data Cloud roadmap. So obviously, you've heard the theme everywhere, trusted AI. So we're going to be doing more. So bring your own model. We have Einstein Studio right now. I think we just announced it a couple of weeks ago, which allows you to build your models within Data Cloud. We have Vector DB. We're going to have more integrations with that. So you should be able to have semantic search and unstructured data search within Data Cloud. We're going to see deep platform integration, so kind of like how you saw the CRM field copy and the related lists, we're going to be seeing more of those. Along the lines of BYOL with Google BigQuery and Snowflake, we're going to be creating an open extensible platform, so you're going to be seeing more integrations down the line with other products like Redshift and Azure Synapse. With identity and profile, you're going to be able to see faster resolution. We already have incremental resolution in place now. So we're going to have enhancements around, new ways to, or rather improve new fields and ways in which you can unify. Segmentation is going to be driven by Gen AI. We're going to have next-gen analytics, packaging and extensibility. I think everybody's been very excited about and has been asking very much about when we're going to have sandbox support. So that's coming. Around data management, more security, object and row-level security. We're going to be introducing data retention, so you can purge data that you no longer need. And then we're also going to be using, very excited about this actually, a real-time personalization, because we're going to be using our groundbreaking data graphs to drive real-time personalization. And that's actually in pilot right now, and that'll be available sometime this year.
So the question is, how can you get started for Data Cloud if you don't have it? So really excited. So back at Dreamforce, we announced free Data Cloud. So all Salesforce customers who have Enterprise Edition and above, so Enterprise, Unlimited, or Unlimited Plus, can get started data for absolutely free, right? So Data Cloud is based on some credit system. You get 250,000 credits, and what we have seen is you can implement about 2 use cases, like viable use cases with that. So going back, so some of the use cases are how you can unify your across your Sales Org to kind of get that unified lead view, as well as for your Service Cloud in terms of unified case for that personalized engagement. And now, here's for those who are interested in becoming a Data Cloud architect, we have a few, almost like a trail map recommendation. If you actually scan that QR code right there, that has a link to this deck as well, so you can use that, and then you can click through. So we have a trail mix to get hands-on with Data Cloud, and then there's a trail mix to how do you prepare for your Data Cloud certification. And last but not the least, we launched at Dreamforce as well our Data Cloud Consultant certification that's now on trailhead. So those are your steps on how to become a data cloud architect as well. With that, thank you for coming to our session, and we hope you learned something useful today.